This is Anjali Sinha and I am representing the country profile of Singapore. So let's see the video about evolution of Singapore.
Some say seeing is believing. Then there are some who believe even before they see. Singapore was founded on a belief, a vision, 200 years ago, where people could come from everywhere to trade freely with each other. A natural harbour with fresh water and timber for ship repairs. That vision quickly took shape. Soon, we became the world centre for rubber exports and anchored ourselves as a regional hub for tin and oil. Over the next century, the pioneering use of containers allowed for even more trade, and with rapid industrialization, we rode the waves of growth. This was Singapore. And this is Singapore now. A vibrant economy where 80% of the world's top commodities trading firms call home. Empowered by a multicultural, skilled and digital talent pool. A booming epicenter of trade with an established rule of law. A gateway into Asia. We're constantly building bridges to connect goods, people and ideas. And while focusing on the now, we've also set our eyes to the future. By embracing innovation and digitalization to stay ahead. Being open and inclusive, we set the stage for a new generation of digital marketplaces, allowing for greater price discovery. And while some may see differences, we see diversity, sustaining a constant exchange of ideas to share with the world. So while Singapore has changed, our vision has always remained the same. Welcoming traders.
The contents which I discuss in this profile is introduction, general profile, history, foreign direct investment, Singapore trade and its GDP, foreign exchange rate, World Trade Organization of Singapore, International Monetary Fund, Hofstede dimension, and the last part is conclusion. Its introduction. As we know, Singapore is a state in maritime Southeast Asia. Its national language is Malay and its flag first adopted in 1959. Now, in general profile, there is population which is 5.804 millions, exchange rate which is 1.364 SGD, its GDP is 361.72 millions current US, its land area is 709 kilometers square and its GDP growth is 0.73%. When we comes in history of Singapore, the name Singapore comes from Malay words Singa for lion and Pura, and by the 1990 the country had become one of the world's most prosperous nation. Singapore foreign direct investment. Singapore is the fifth largest recipient of FDI inflows in the world after the US, and according to UNITAD's World Investment Report 2020, FDI inflows rose to USD 92 billion in 2019 for USD 79 billion a year earlier. Its main investors are Cayman Islands and the Netherlands. This slide represent more about Singapore foreign direct investment. This is the data which is based on foreign direct investment of Singapore of 2017, 2018 and 2019. which shows FDI, inward flow, FDI stock, number of greenfield investments, value of greenfield investments. Singapore trade represented 319.1% in 2019, shows in World Bank Report 2020, and on 15th November 2020, Singapore signed RCEP agreement. This is the slide which shows the GDP growth rate of past few years of Singapore. Now we know foreign exchange rate of Singapore. 1 Singapore dollar is equal to 55.06 Indian rupees, and these are the data which shows money changes in Singapore for good exchange rate. Now, this slide represents the picture which shows the India Singapore trade can reach $25 billion by 2019 to 2020. Now, these slides represent the top export destination of commodities from Singapore in 2019. China with a share of 13.2%, Hong Kong with a share of 11.3%, Malaysia with a share of 10.5%, and USA with a share of 8.81%. Singapore trade balance from 2019 to 2019. In 2019, Singapore trade surplus amounted to 31.5 billion US dollars. Now we talk about the World Trade Organization. The World Trade Organization held its first ministerial conference on 9 to 13 December in Singapore. Trade ministers from 128 members. About International Monetary Fund of Singapore. Singapore became the 104th member of IMF and the World Bank on 3rd August 1966. Singapore applied for membership to join the IMF and the World Bank on 8 September 1965. Now comes to the Hofstede dimension of Singapore. The first is Power Distance Index. Singapore scores 74 on this dimension, which shows power is centralized. Next is collectivism. It's score 20, which means we are important. In masculinity, Singapore scores 48, which means more on feminism. In uncertainty avoidance, scores 8 on this dimension. Now, this slide represents the Hofstede comparison country between Singapore and US. So, by this, we conclude that Singapore is a country where power is centralized, the society is collectivism in nature, and it's a successful free market economy. And where unemployment is low, the economy depend heavily on exports, particularly of electronics and optical devices. Thank you so much.